Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tony McGarren, reporting here, actually sitting in Singapore at the moment for the Courtside Collective. But thankfully, I'm joined with Puff Summers from WhyNotMe Hoops, as well as Emmett Ryan from BallinEurope. Emmett and Puff, you're very, very welcome today. What we're going to be talking about is the recent news that Neptune will not be joining the Premier League this season. So let's get right into it, guys. What has happened in the last couple of weeks, and how will this move impact on the rest of the league in Ireland?
Well, to start off, it's losing any team is bad. Losing a team that's been around pretty much since day one is awful. And we've lost one of the best rivalries in Irish sport right now, Demons versus Neptune. Obviously Demons went out for a few years in the early 90s, but came back. But you look at Neptune, you kind of go, this is a team that most people who don't even know basketball in Ireland know about Neptune. That's a team they associate with the sport. Obviously you got the arena, you got the history. And you kind of look at losing them, and it's like you've lost a big derby day in Cork, which is obviously great for both clubs, and we managed to basically lose one of the biggest names in Irish basketball. Everybody assumes they'll be back, but you got to wonder what led to them reaching this point, because there's been a lot of talk about Roy Downey this week. But if the straw that breaks the camel's back is one 21-year-old kid, even a very talented 21-year-old kid, leaving your club, I'm really wondering what happened before that led to that being the final straw.
All right, Puff, and what I got to add to this conversation then? Well, we seem to have lost Puff here, Emmett.
Well, I suppose because obviously Puff was out in China with Roy on the tour, the successful tour as well. We beat a Russian selection. Obviously got absolutely pounded by China and Italy, but that's expected. China and Italy are serious basketball nations. We don't have a national team right now, but so we got great experience against some serious players, playing against Yi Jianlan. And so Roy's out there playing with these good ballers, and he's coming back to the next situation now. People might say the China thing might have influenced him because the coach obviously was also Colin O'Reilly, but I kind of go, nah, not really, because you look at it and you kind of go, this is a young, smart guy who's probably going to get paid to play somewhere in Europe. He might get Division 4 France, Division 5 Germany work out of this long term, or maybe a little better as well than that. He needs to be in the best situation for him, and I'm sure he was thinking about this long before he went to China, and he just waited until he'd done his duty, and also so that Neptune could say they had one of the better players on that tour, because he's had 13 years with Neptune. Since he was 8 years old, he's been a member of that club. He's shown great devotion to them, great loyalty, and so I think for him, waiting until he came back from China to make the announcement was an act of respect to Neptune. For the league on a competitive level, it's disaster. Let's not dance around it. Demons won every game last year with a ridiculously good team. The team has just gotten better, and one of the teams you'd hope to possibly get the odd win off them has just left the league. So this is awful for the league. It's great that we've got a very good team, and it'll be great for the league selection side that's playing in this European competition, that a lot of the team's players who will be on that league selection side are playing on the one team, because an awful lot of selection is going to be from Demons. But you look at it and you kind of go, who's going to get a win over Demons this year? Maybe Swords, but in that cup semi-final, Demons, when they got going, just absolutely ran them out of the building. They made hard work of the two games in the playoffs at the end of the year. They had to really fight to make sure it was a perfect season in both those games. But you look at what DCU Saints have, you look at UCD Marion, they're not going to be teams who are going to be beating Demons for the league. They might, if they're very lucky, get a win off them in the cup. Star are not going to be relevant. Temple Oak, likewise, they've got a couple of good players. Obviously, they've got Conor Grace. But again, you're not thinking that's a team that's going to, stop Demons in the run for the league title. So your one hope is that basically someone can get lucky against them in a cup game, or someone can get lucky against them in a playoff game at the end of the year, where, you've got a player coach who's great in Jared Noonan, but you clearly have lost a lot of players. Mick McGinn had gone the previous season. Puff is having his coffee. That's great to see. They've been losing players. The team has been going backwards now since that cup win a couple of years back. And Roy's looking at kind of going, I'm not on a team that's going to win here. I need to excel as a basketball player. And if I'm ever going to get work, get paid for this somewhere else, because you forget Roy is just still an amateur player. He probably figured he needed to be playing in a stronger situation than the Neptune one right now.
Okay, so now that we've got Puff back, which we're happy to see, I wish you'd brought coffee for all of us. Regardless, Puff, we're just talking about essentially the situation where there was a statement released, and there seems to be there was a lot of speculation coming that Neptune's reason for dropping out of the league was down to one single player, and that's of course Roy Downey. Now you had the chance; you were just in China with this team. Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel the situation has unfolded in the last week or two?
Well, to me, putting that story of a club in the hands of a 21-year-old kid is ridiculous to start off. So I think Roy did kind of fall in love with the process of the work we were doing with the team that went to China, and it was kind of we were doing individual workouts, and it was a very professional setup, and obviously Colin was the head man in that, so he was bringing what he was doing at Demons and kind of giving that feel to what we had with our select team, which obviously Roy was a big part of, and he loved what we were doing. So like I definitely do feel like he made a decision based on basketball and him excelling as a player. As far as Neptune, putting any kind of blame on Roy, I think they were struggling from the beginning. I think they were struggling to field a team. I think they were struggling a little bit financially. And, like countless people have said, Roy leaving might have been the last straw. It just looked very much like, oh, Roy went to Demons, Neptune pulled out. So, Roy is the guy we're going to hit with that bullseye, which is unfair on him.
Yeah, I mean the one thing I would say, Puff, I reread the statement after actually speaking with Roy yesterday, and Roy released a statement to his friends on Facebook, which obviously I'm not at liberty to share on this platform, but basically, this young basketball player was, still remains, connected and in love with his club, Neptune. And from speaking with him and from his, as I say, from his statement on his personal Facebook account, I don't think he has read as deep into this as others. I mean, perhaps, are we reading too far into this?
Yeah. Well, I just think the fun thing to do is read too much into things. Like that's what everybody does. That's what's fun about watching the NBA or hearing press conferences is, whatever LeBron says, we go way deeper than it needs to be. Like that's fun. I think it's rare in Ireland that we have a situation like this where a team at the magnitude of a Neptune are pulling out and we got a little bit of drama there. Like that's always fun. But I don't know. I think Roy he just made a decision and he just went with it and that was that. I don't think he looked at, I might be destroying the history of the club or I'm putting the history in jeopardy or anything like that. And for him to think like he shouldn't think that way, or for him to feel if he did play with Neptune that he had the weight of all of those championships they won back in the day on his shoulders. Like he shouldn't have to feel that. So, he made a basketball decision and, I think he just took it as that and he's just going with it as that,
Yeah. So interestingly, Emmet, Troy O'Mahony, the secretary for Demons, released a statement and he suggested that, open quote, it'd be a cardinal sin to operate in an underhand manner, close quote. Puff, you were in China. Can you let us into any insights as well if there was any foul play, or is this something that just came organically from Roy and his decision to go and play with Demons?
No, it was nothing. There was no kind of behind the scenes kind of coercing Roy to leave Neptune, because at the end of the day, like Troy said in his statement, the Demons Neptune game is, it's almost like a fundraiser for both teams. So losing that is huge. Like the gate from that game alone is, 2 months work with some fundraiser. You know what I mean? So I definitely don't think that they would do anything to damage Neptune to the point to where they were going to pull out of the league. From being around it, I know there was nothing that I saw that was shady. Obviously Roy and Kyle are very close and they hang out a lot, but they've been very close for a long time and they've hung out a lot even though they've been on the rival teams, so it was no different.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Puff, it's fun to be able to delve as deep into this, and the fact that people are talking about Irish basketball, I would argue, is a good thing, and certainly I'm sure it's good for Roy to feel so loved and cared about, and that with all this attention, certainly.
Well, it might be good. It might be the worst thing for he got a big head already. You know what I mean? So it might just be swelling as we're talking right now.
Oh, I'm sure he'll love it. I'm sure he'll love it. Emmett, just while you're there, and since we have Puff as well, who, as I said, has just come back from China, I mean, what about this new Hibernia situation and the new life coming out of men's basketball in Ireland? You know, what's that going to mean for Irish basketball within the European stage?
Well, obviously, it's great that we have a team playing on the European stage in any capacity. Like, that's when he brought the youth teams back internationally. That was a big thing. Getting the men's select team to go over to China, obviously, Puff was part of that. That was a big thing. And so now it's a case of, right, we're playing in FIBA's, I like to call it Euro Challenge Redux, because they haven't actually announced the name of it yet, and it's replacing Euro Challenge. It's meant to be a rival to Euro Cup. You know, some of the listeners I know, because they don't follow the European leagues as much, basically FIBA and ULEB are like rival bodies competing to decide who runs European club basketball, and they're sort of at war. And on the fun side, Ireland's benefiting because FIBA wants to get the small nations more involved, and obviously we want to get a team out there. So we're going to be playing in this in a first qualifying round in September, and I believe it's the last week of September and first week of October when the two games are going to be on. So that should be great for the sport over here, great for basketball. But the real thing is, and I've said it before to you so many times, Tony, and I know Puff's the same, until we have a actual regularly named Ireland team playing senior basketball, both men's and women's, we're not going to get to the stage we're at. It's great to see this step being taken. No, I have no idea what level team we're going to get. It could be a Cantu who have like Ron Artest, like that was, you know, they could end us basically. We could get one of the good Belgian teams who people wouldn't expect to do bad things to us, but trust me, they're good. Or we might get a team more our level in this qualifying round and then get into the group stage. So we'll know a lot more this time next week when the actual draw is made. I think it's on a Wednesday or Thursdays when they're making the draw in Munich. So we'll have a lot more information then, and I think we'll have a better understanding of what it's going to mean for Irish basketball at that stage.
Yeah. And Puff, from a coaching perspective, you know, the guys had some tremendous success in China, I think it's fair to say. You know, what do you think needs to happen in order for the quality of basketball to continue to just be, for that level to be increased, especially going into this Hibernia situation?
Yeah, well, I think that the China trip is definitely the work that those guys put in over the summer, you know, and getting prepared for that is definitely going to make our league better this year. You know, and what it was doing, it was bringing them so that guys were playing year round instead of taking the whole summer off and, you know, drinking or going to play Gaelic football or just kind of kicking their feet up. So like they were actually being basketball players, and that's what having a national team does. It, you know what I mean? It has something. It gives something for everybody to aspire to. You know, so like I'm in complete agreement. Until we have national teams there, then we're not really going to be taken seriously as a basketball nation.
And just to jump in there on what Puff's saying, because I went along to one of your training sessions, Puff. I saw you guys in action, and the intensity of the training, Tony, was unreal. I haven't seen that, like, you know, sort of at our level in quite a while, because you saw a lot of like our best players in our league training together in the one team, and just seeing it all in one place. Like, it was a speed I'm not used to seeing in league games, in all honesty, and I was seeing it at training. Like, so that says a lot to you about sort of what you get when you get the best players playing together. You're going to get a better level.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the whole thing's super exciting. Even here in Singapore, I was a proud basketball player, telling all my teammates over here in Asia about how Ireland had beat Russia. So, you know, congratulations to you, Puff, and all of the guys that were involved in both making that trip happen, and obviously the players and the coaching staff that were able to go over there and get it done against Russia. I'm really looking forward to seeing what can happen. So, guys, any final thoughts? You know, we'll start with Emmet and we'll finish with Puff. Any final thoughts on this Neptune situation and the fact that they're now out of the Premier League?
I really, really hope it's a short exit, to be honest, Tony, because we need Neptune. Like, one season's going to hurt. Like, longer than that's going to hurt a lot more. In order for it to work, we need Neptune to be smarter. So if they've got financial issues, if they've got other issues, like, yes, they're all volunteers, obviously. They're all doing it with the love of the game, but we see volunteers do smart stuff a lot of the time. They've got to work out what Neptune needs to do in order to be not just a Premier League team, but a relevant Premier League team, because they belong at the top tier of Irish basketball. Like, them Demons and a couple of Dublin clubs should be properly fighting it out every year. And right now, that's not what we're seeing. So, like, we need Neptune to come back and come back strong when they do so as well.
Okay, and over
and for me, like, I agree completely. Like Neptune needs to be back, and I think they will be back soon. I think their underage structure is very good. It's just, they might just be going through a little bit of a transition phase right now, which every club does. And the difference is that usually when they go through the transition, the likes of Demons or Neptune earlier in the 2000s, they were still able to sustain a competitive team in the Super League. But I think with Neptune leaving, it's really putting a damper on the league, which to me is going to be as exciting as it ever has this year. There'll be no Neptune, but Tempelo is going to be tough. Like Connor Grace is healthy now, and him and Jason are going to be a serious force to reckon with. Jermaine.
Listen, guys, thanks so much for taking the time. We're going to leave it there, but definitely, this is something we hope to do again, and perhaps as we get ready for the start of the next season, we'll have more opportunities to connect with Irish basketball enthusiasts such as Emmet and Puff, and really continue the conversation about the game. So thanks to everyone who's watching here. Feel free to share. Make sure to like us on Facebook, and of course check out BallinEurope and WhyNotMe. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Emmet and Puff, have a great day. Enjoy that coffee.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, man. I'll get moments off now.
Remember, Roy is not that good. Don't let his head get too big. Everybody.
That's for you, Roy. All the best, guys. Thank you.